What's working me. Nothing that I did personally. It was his work in me. I feel very blessed to be in the position that I'm in. And again, I'm humbled to be speaking to you as someone who has spent all of his adult life in the Pennsylvania prison system. I am here because Malcolm X had a quote. Anybody know Malcolm X quotes? What's Malcolm X quote?
By any means necessary.
That's the one everyone brings to mind. But it's not that one. Right? Malcolm said, the only thing worse than not having an opportunity is to have an opportunity presented and not be prepared. Okay? So, for 42 years, or nearly 42 years, I was in preparation for this opportunity. Okay? Prison is a place where you can do one or two things. You can either grow or you can fall deeper than where you were. All right? Fortunately for me, I was blessed to be surrounded by a lot of men that wanted to see a young buck succeed. Okay? Larry was one of them. I had another friend, John Darby, Ralph Whitfield. You know, these guys were mentors to me. They lifted me up when my confidence was down. Early on, I wrote a poem to my family that sort of expressed how I felt. And it said, at 16, you turned and left me, standing in fear, surrounded by darkness, with very little hope. I was not one to show his emotion, so I cried inside and smiled in the face of my fear. Prison is not a pleasant place. Many people seem to think that you put someone in prison and they're happy and it's all gunky-dory and everything's sweet, but it's not. Prison is a dark hole that many people find themselves trapped in, and they can't find their way out. They just can't seem to stay out of prison. Even when they get out, they're in. I taught a class at SEI Minor called Character Development. And one of the things about character development was they said you begin with the end in mind. Now every man or woman who walks into a prison walks in with the hope and expectation of getting out. We all have that dream, that ambition. But the reality is, the goal is to stay out. It's not just to get out, it's to stay out. And the only way that any of us can stay out is we have to do something else I learned in character development. Put in the work. Successful people do what unsuccessful people don't like to do. That's work. The guy you see on the corner selling drugs, he doesn't want to work. That's why he's selling drugs. The guy you see doing all this foolishness out there, they don't want to work. The robbers and all, they don't want to work. They want the fruits of success, but not the labor that comes with success. Now, I could stand on a corner, sell drugs, become rich. As soon as I get arrested, everything I've ever done is gone. All that work that I put in on the corner, the money that I amassed, evaporates. The government takes it. But if I go out here and I put the hard work in, work 9 to 5, do the things I'm supposed to do to move ahead, I don't lose anything. So it's really about putting in the work. And it begins with you. It began with me. Michael Jackson had a song. It said, I'm talking to the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. Take a look at yourself and make the change. He didn't say take a look at the next person. Take a look at yourself. And that's what I had to do. I had to look at me. That 16-year-old kid that came in for taking someone's life. I had to look at him. He needed to change. There was something about him that had to change. And that's what I began to work on. That's what I began to do. Little by little, I chipped away. So finally, the old Doug's gone. But guess what? The old Doug fights to get out every day. The battle doesn't end because you just make one, small victory. It is a daily battle to do do. You know, we look at each other every day and we say, oh, that's easy, that's simple, I can do that. No, it's not easy, it's not simple. I couldn't do your job any more than you can do my job. You know, I can walk around every single day of my life and still not be able to do what you do. It is hard work helping people who are oftentimes thankless. All of you work in a job where people are thankless for what you do. There are those who are thankful, because I'm very grateful, because it's people like you that help to put me where I am. Without people helping me, I could not have become who I am or do what I do. And I have two passions, or three, but two of them are, first, our youth. I feel very strongly about our youth. Being a product of a failed youth, I have a real passion about helping to keep kids from making similar mistakes that I've made. My life is a painting of failure. And I had opportunities. Lord knows I had opportunities. You know, when I was a kid, I was at George Junior Republic. You might ever heard George Junior Republic?
Yeah.
Well, for those who don't know, George Junior Republic is a juvenile reformatory. And they say you had to be kind of smart to get to George Junior. But I must have been really stupid, because I didn't take advantage of anything that they offered me. I mean, I was good at basketball, I was good at football, and hey, they sent me to basketball camp in spring. I met Calvin Murphy. For those of you who are old enough to know who Calvin Murphy is. And I met Franco Harris and Rocky Blythe. Both of them encouraged me to play football. I'm going back down to projects to hang out with the guys. And this is what hanging out with the guys got me. 42 years later, we're talking about it. All right? Now, I was blessed. The DOC has multiple programs. But like anything else, the education building at SEI Monway, for example, is in the center of the jail. The only way for me to get educated is to go to that education building. It's not going to come to me. I have to get off my duff and go to that building and invest. I have to put in the time, the energy, and the effort to better myself, to change from that guy that I was. Another one of the fine statements from that character development class is, establish integrity, and others will perceive you differently. All right? Now, for a guy in the hood, integrity was being loyal to my homies. That was integrity. But that loyalty was a false integrity. Integrity means be who you say you are. Do what you say you're going to do. Don't come give me this story, this sad story about, oh, I'm going to be all this. And the first opportunity you get, you're going to do the opposite. I try to live up to the things that I say that I'm going to do. That's very important to me. But then another thing that I learned in the character development class, which is, seems to be a constant thing here, is that the things that matter most must never be at the mercy of the things that matter least. And it's so easy to subjugate what is important to something that's unimportant. I mean, it's easy. Who knows? Right before I came home, my freedom was important to me, of major importance. But I'm downgraded for it, and I'm, waiting to come back to mine. And I'm hanging out with a friend, or hanging out in a friend's cell. The guards run in the cell, and they find a little USB port. I got a misconduct. Now, everything that I've worked for 42 years has become jeopardized because I subjugated my freedom to hanging out in this guy's cell. That was a wake-up call to me, because everything that I worked for was going down the tubes and going down fast. And there's nothing that I could do Fortunately for me, the people who make the decisions had an established record of who Doug Hollis is.
Wow.
Because for 42 years, Doug Hollis worked to be the man that I've become. So while I had this misconduct with this infraction, the superintendent used to be my unit manager, got me involved in peer facilitating around the institution. She knew me. And she knew immediately, that's not Doug. Doug wouldn't do that. And I tell you, Doug was scared to death. I mean, to see everything flashing in front of you like that. But by the grace of God, I received parole. I go home. I have a wife who's been with me for 35 years. You know, and it hasn't been easy for her. You know, for any woman to stand behind a man or with a man that is incarcerated for 1 year, let alone 35, is a difficult journey.
Amen.
But she stood with me and listen, that misconduct crushed her. I mean, you know, she was crushed. My sister was crushed. Everybody was crushed, including me. I'm sitting in the hole scratching my head trying to figure out what I did. But the reality is I made a poor choice. And life is going to be filled with poor choices. It's not so much that you make a bad decision. It's what you do after you make the decision. Do you compound? Do you lay in the ground and waddle and cry? Or do you get up, brush yourself off, and move forward? Because that's what it's really about. Because everybody makes mistakes in life. There are no perfect people. Everyone makes mistakes. So, for me, it's really about using the blessing that has been given me to help other people, to try and enrich the lives of others. All I can do is get back. I already took. Now it's time for me to get back. And I can never get back enough to compensate or make up for or in any way diminish that one act of stupidity. Now, one of the things that I learned in prison is if you think the way you've always thought, you'll always get what you've always got. And if you always get what you've always got, you'll always think what you've always thought. So it's important to change the way we think. You know, it's like, they say you need a paradigm shift. Right? Growing up in the inner city, you see life one way. But life isn't that way. We live in a world where everyone seems to have these blinders on. Horses wear blinders to keep them from being distracted, so that they don't see what's going on. We're not horses. Right? We should be able to look around and see everything and make a sound decision based upon the things we see. It shouldn't be, I'm going to do this because my homie doing it. Unfortunately, too many men are in prison because they're followers. They continue to go back to prison because they're following someone else. That's men or women, they follow. And until we cut the umbilical cord, more or less, from our communities, those urban centers where the ignorance is vast and it's the preponderance of what we do. You know, run the street, drink wine, smoke weed, shoot drugs, rob, rape, kill. Unless we break that cycle, the prison system will continue to flourish. Our children will continue to fall through the cracks. But it all begins with us. One of the most important things to me is that I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, someone's child is looking at me. I am going to influence someone's child one way or the other. But they already have an opinion. Everyone has an opinion. Oh, that Doug Hollis, he's an offender. He's not good. Oh, that Doug Hollis, he's a good guy. Now, I can either prove someone right or prove someone wrong. But it's up to me. I can't hold anyone in this room responsible for my success or failure. I can thank you for putting me in this position because the DLC put me in this position. They educated me. I came to prison as a 16-year-old kid that was a dropout. I dropped out of school in the 10th grade. I didn't even go to the 10th grade. I got promoted to quit school. I got my GED in prison. I got a college education. I got 2 apprenticeships. But those were things that the DLC afforded me. I took advantage of what was available. And while some of the things I learned is antiquated, I can't use in the job market from a vocational standpoint, but I wouldn't have had the basic skills and knowledge if it was not for the programs that was available. There's a lot of guys that want the same opportunity I got. There's a lot of kids on their way out. Because Pennsylvania has the most juvenile lifers in the country. So there's a lot of kids, well, I say kids, there's a lot of men coming out. And women who were children when they went in. They're coming out here, and they're going to need the support of people like you. They're going to need every bit of support. And some of them are going to be stubborn. Some of them are going to feel like society is beholden to them. Or the reality is we owe society. Society doesn't owe us anything. So everything I do is my way of trying to give back. In some small way, I hope that the things I say, the things I do, will reflect positively on those to follow. I don't want anyone to come out here and have the mistakes of Doug Hollis slap them in the face. I had that happen to me in 1992. Wesley McFadden made commutation, went home and did something stupid. And the whole process of commutation became stagnant. Ironically, in 1992, I was recommended to the governor alongside of Wesley McFadden.
Wow.
His was granted, mine was denied. Now I can't even get a hearing from the Board of Pardons. But I did not lose faith. Now, one thing that you can't do, anytime you get caught up in a situation where things don't go quite like you want, is give up. You have to continue to fight. You have to continue to believe. You have to fight the right way. I'm not saying go out there and do something stupid to make a point. It's not about making points. It's about doing what's right and being rewarded for your efforts. And that's what happened with me. In spite of Wesley McFadden, in spite of all the other things, I was blessed enough to be granted parole, and I stand before you as a man who is truly contrite and wants to give back. I mean, I want to give back so bad. When people said, when I was in prison, and sometimes institutions didn't support me, and here I am teaching class, a guy said, why do you teach these classes? They don't care. They won't even support you. And I used to say, it's not about them. It's about me. They don't make the decisions that I make. They make the decisions that they make, and they make them based upon what they believe. I make the decisions I do because I care about people. I genuinely care about people. I want people to succeed. So now I'm going to close, but before I do, I'm going to tell you this little anecdote that I read some time ago. It's about a girl. All she ever did was complain. Her father was a chef. So he took her in the kitchen, he put 3 pots on the stove. And he put water in the pots, and he turned up the flame. The water boiled, he put carrots in one, eggs in the second one, and coffee beans in the third. And he let them simmer for 20 minutes. And then he asked his daughter what she saw. And she said carrots, eggs, and coffee. And I used to ask guys this in the class that I taught what they saw. Because I wanted their answer, their response. And some guys said, well, I would ask them, which were they? Not what they saw. Which of these items would you be? Because each of the items were unique in their own way. The carrot, for example, was hard and unrelenting when it went in, yet it became soft. The boiling water softened it. As incarceration or prison does to many men and women, it softens them and breaks them. On the other hand, the egg, it had a hard exterior, but it was very malleable. It could be formed. What happened to the egg? It became hard. Like so many people I know, their hearts are hardened, they become callous and cold, they want to come home and wreak havoc on society, seek revenge. And then there's the coffee beans. What was unique about the coffee beans is that they not only changed the color of the water, they changed the water's flavor. Right? And that's what I aspire to do. I have a sphere of influence. And I had it in prison. Right? I was president of organizations. I did all that stuff in prison. So I could have used my influence for good or for bad. Just like many other men. We all suffer the same adversity, incarceration. How do we respond? It is really about helping other people, improving the conditions around you, making life better for everyone, for prison administrators, for inmates, for everyone, making it better. Now I'm in society. Like that cup of coffee, I want to make life better for those around me. I live in a community where I'm a minority, and I work in a job where I am the only black. But I don't take that as a knockdown. I use it to lift me up. I use it to make me better. It is my fuel to show others that I can, I will, and I am. So, in closing, I thank you very much for your time and your attention. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will answer them to the best of my ability and as honestly and straightforward as I can.
We're good on time. It's 12 after 4. We have, we can go to the 4:25. So, questions, discussion?
So how did you make it through jail all those years?
Well, I kept myself busy. It was about change. So I really invested in me. I invested in bettering the guy that I was. And it's still a work in progress. You know, Larry introduced me as a successful ex-offender. I'm not successful because success is when you reach that pinnacle. And every time I achieve a goal, there's another goal. So I'm constantly trying to better myself. And that's what I did in prison. Every time I achieved one dream or one goal, I tried to do something better. I tried to do more. Every time I got one part of me improved, I wanted to improve another part. It's like basketball. I mean, you work on your foul shot, you work on your layup, you work on your jump shot. You work on all the different parts of the game to become a complete player. I had to work on all the parts of me to become a complete man.
There had to be many obstacles. How did you?
Sure, there's obstacles. But that's where it goes to the point where I say you have to break the umbilical cord. You have to cut it. I had to become my own man. I couldn't let my homies decide for me. I couldn't let anyone make the choices for me but me. Most inmates abdicate their lives to the system. I have to take ownership for mine. And a part of that is doing what I need to do.
How you doing, Mr. Hollis?
Henry?
What was your most difficult challenge this far in your re-entry? And I'm not talking about programming your smartphone.
No, well, to be honest, the hardest part for me coming out was employment. Here it is, I'm a 58-year-old man that has never been in the employment market. I never had a job outside of a prison job. So I'm going to an employer and I'm asking this employer to trust me, to give me a shot. Well, where you been at? And now most guys would lie. I told them no. I was in prison for 42 years. I'm a juvenile lifer. I was in prison for 42 years. And the girl up here where I work at MI, Tiffany Clemens, she said, all you want is a chance.
MI?
MI,
What's that?
Metal Industries.
Oh.
They make windows and doors, window frames and door frames. And I said, all I want is a chance. That's it. Once you're given an opportunity, the rest is on you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, as I said, I wasn't fully equipped for the job, but they're patient with me. It's like OJT, on-the-job training. I'm learning. And every day I learn something new. But the hardest part of this whole transition for me has been finding a job that I like. I don't really like the job, but I got it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm going to keep doing what I do until something better comes along. I'm not going to snub someone who gave me an opportunity.
Right.
I'm going to take advantage of every opportunity that is put before me. And again, going back to Malcolm X, the only thing worse than not having opportunities is to have one presented and not be prepared. So I'm going to take advantage of the opportunities given me. But there were some jobs that didn't hire me because I was in prison. I mean, you know. But again, I could have quit. I could have gave up, but I kept pressing.
So that's
Kept pressing
part of
on.
the advantage.
Yeah. Keep pressing. You have to keep pressing. Because there's going to be times when things just don't work.
So you got married in prison.
Yes, I did.
How did that happen? How did that come about?
That's another story, huh? That's another thing they
Well,
gave.
I met my wife in 1982. I was at Camp Hill. She was a nurse at Camp Hill, and I was an inmate orderly. We became friends, and you know, the rest is history, as they say. But we were married in 1987 when I was incarcerated at SCI Huntington. You know, and as I said, it hasn't been easy. I mean, she's been out here for 35 years on her own, dealing with the trials of life, paying bills and everything else. And now I'm here, and God willing, I can stay healthy and help to pay the bills and do all the things that I need to do and be a good husband.
Did you have a wedding ceremony in the prison?
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
I know you have to work, but are you available to speak at future engagements, special engagements, if, you know, the time and the date and everything would work? Would you be willing to come back, whether it be a conference or some sort of special thing, and speak?
One of my ambitions is to deliver the message. All right, I want people to know that there are people who can succeed. That not every person who goes into prison is a failure. So to answer your question, yes, I can't, you know. Can't
I know
take
you
off
work,
every week
yeah.
from work,
Yeah, I
but,
know you work.
you know. Mr. Adams?
I just want to piggyback. I think it was about maybe a couple of weeks that I got out. People called me. Hey, I'm ready to talk. Anyway, go on vacation. But yeah, since day one, he was always willing to raise his hand to help other juvenile lifers and other re-entrants, not even just juvenile lifers, not
if you had to give a message to our youth on making decisions that deter them so that they weren't going into prison, what would be that message? Because one of the biggest things is making sure our youth in the city and everybody is, you know, not making those same decisions. What would be your message to them?
I think that the most positive message any of us can give a child is us. Because they look those around me.
Yeah.
And too often the adults in our lives tell us, do as I say, not as I do. The children do what you do, not what you say. So if you drink, they gonna drink. If you run the streets, they gonna run the streets. And then it's about small choices. Because that's where the bad decisions come in at. We start off with making poor decisions that are small. And we just piggyback off of those bad ones. So now we're making poor decisions that are big. And they have consequences that children aren't ready to deal with. That's how I ended up with a murder rap. Poor decisions, my whole life, poor decisions. So, you know, to me, it's really about trying to get children to make better choices and to be better examples.
Two questions. First, I want to say congratulations on coming through the jungle. You know, what a good story. My first question is, how long have you been out? And what do you do to maintain your healthiness in your journey from this day?
Well, I got out of prison on March 3rd of this year. I got a job May 8th. I got hired in my profiles. But for that 2-month window, I was going through it. You know, I wanted work, and I couldn't find it. I wanted to talk. Mr. Hammond was saying, no, take a break. You need a rest. You know, enjoy your freedom. But listen, my passion is helping people. And if I could sit in a room and just help people all day, that's what I would do. That's what I did for years in prison, in teaching classes. I taught character development, citizenship, thinking for a change, stress and anger, decision making, all these programs over and over. I taught them to guys. I even taught ALD, and I didn't even have a drug problem. But I taught them. Because my passion is helping other people. If I can help someone succeed, if I can help someone do better, that's what I want to do.
Yes, are you gonna come to the, Lifer, Juvenile Lifer Support Group at Cameron Street on Monday?
God willing, I'll be there. As I say, often said, God willing, the creek don't rise, I'll be there. So, you know.
We're forward to have you. Actually, Juvenile Lifer myself, who left out February 8th, 9th, you know, 35 years. But, you know, good luck.
Thank you.
Mine is more of a statement. When I was a case manager, anybody who got a state sentence in Cumberland County Prison, and I would tell them, if you want to do right, I got 2 guys up in Mahanoy, Douglas Hollis and Henry Winbush. Henry's in the back. He did 17 up there. I say, get with them guys, you know, because I know what they do. And in recovery, we say, find one person who believes in you. That's all you need to do. And I believed in y'all. Yeah, I did.
Now this brother here,